Hi. How's it going? Happy Beltane. It is May 1st. And we are celebrating Beltane this time around at this teaching in this summit. Beltane is creative fire. Beltane is honoring the incarnation that occurs when two forces come together, when the masculine and the feminine come together. And Beltane is one that is celebrated with a maypole. If you've ever danced and woven a maypole, that right there is a representation of the two forces, the masculine and the feminine. The masculine being the pole, the feminine being the ribbons that are wrapped and wound around. It's a ceremony to what is created when the masculine and feminine come together. It is a ceremony that really is simply honoring of the energetics. And all of these teachings, all of these sabbats are honoring the energetics. However, Beltane in particular really highlights that sometimes certain energies need to come together for certain reasons. And the reason why I specifically identify that component is because there's a really interesting ritual that goes along with traditional Beltane ceremony. You've got the maypole. You also have the bell fire, the Beltane fire, because it represents the weaving, the symbolism, the ceremony. Now, there's another aspect of this Beltane ritual, this very traditional Beltane ritual, where in the evening, while the fires are burning, women would go out into the fields, out into the hills, out into the darkness. They would lay in the grass and they would wait to see if a man, not knowing who it would be, whether it was their partner or not, their husband or not, they would wait to see if a man came to lay with them. Sometimes a man would, sometimes a man wouldn't. Not out of choice, but merely out of surrender to the power of the goddess. Surrender to the power of Grandma Spider and how she's weaving everyone's web together. There's a lot of ways to be in relationship and in partnership in this lifetime, in this world. The primary, response to partnership is often, marriage, romantic relationships, that type of expression. And yes, please, totally cool. We love that. We want that. Yes, yes, yes. And there are other ways in which masculine and feminine energy come together. There are partnerships within work. There are partnerships just within your community. There are partnerships and incarnations that can be born of the two forces coming together, no matter how the form of the being shows up. So it could be two men, it could be two women. It could be, again, as I said, in a work dynamic. It could be, a neighborly dynamic, a familial dynamic. The bottom line is that, again, we're dipping back to one of the most foundational and cornerstone teachings of energetics in general. Definitely the Essential Feminine program, if you've ever gone through that with me. And that is that birth and pregnancy and parenthood is not necessarily only related to human children. Birth and pregnancy and parenthood, gestation, creation, sexual energy, life force energy isn't always about intercourse between two people. It's about the coming together of these two energies. And Beltane, it is Beltane that really, really honors that. Really, really honors that. And so the ritual that would traditionally be done of the women going out and embodying the goddess, meaning I'm not, the woman Olivia who lives in this house and teaches these things and does this stuff and has this family and these children and this partner. I'm not that. I'm just the feminine expression. I am just the embodiment of the goddess, and I am available. I am receptive to whatever divine force would like to impregnate me. Now, again, that impregnation could be a human child, or it could just be new energies, the shifting of new energies, the introduction of a new energy. We talk about the impregnation and the gestation because it doesn't have to be, again, about a child. It can be that these two forces, these two people, these business partners come together to make something together. And the reason why it matters so much that we honor that coupling, that style of coupling, is because there is so much that wants to be, created by us as humans. There is so much that is available to be created by us as humans. So if we get stuck on only having babies with the romantic love of our life partner, if that's the only version that we will allow ourselves to experience, we are missing out on so much that life has to offer. And life, the rest of the world, the rest of humanity is missing out on so much of what we still have to offer. We have each individual, not just human being, but all the beings, the plant, the animal kingdom, the waters, the stones, all beings, all entities on this planet have a myriad of offerings. All beings have a role to play in the tapestry that is our existence. And if we disallow anything other than this one narrow representation, we miss out on all the things. And that is one of the teachings of goddess culture. That is one of the teachings that really is pervasive throughout all, is, do no harm is one of the main tenets, but also understanding that we are maiden, mother, matriarch, and crone. We are the entire wheel. We are spirituality, sexuality, sisterhood, and motherhood. We are everything. Goddess culture honors, recognizes, and therefore represents through all the different Sabbats and rituals and celebrations, honors the cyclical nature of everything. The everything is everything dynamic. And what's incredible about that is, instead of only allowing for one pathway to divinity, this type of spiritual approach allows many pathways to divinity. And that's why the notion of laying in a field and being receptive and available for whatever it is that wants to come your way is such a beautiful teaching and such a beautiful ceremony, because it's not Beltane every day, that's only May 1st, but that teaching is imbued in every single day of our existence. Remain open, remain receptive, remain available for whatever it is that wants to come your way every single day of your life, every moment of your life. Knowing and trusting that whatever that may be will be the perfect set of circumstances or dynamic or answer to whatever is going on within and without you. And it is Beltane that recognizes that and honors that. And we do that through the weaving of the maypole. We do that through the celebration of the fire. And, traditionally it was done in that form of mysterious coupling. Because whether we want to admit it or not, sometimes we are attached to the couplings that we have. Again, whether they are romantic or familial or business or whatever. Sometimes we're attached to the couplings that we have. And that attachment comes from up here, right? It comes from the definitions that we have decided and agreed upon. It comes from the, specifics, and sometimes it comes from our sense of control. Sometimes it comes from fear. There's a lot of reasons why we think a certain coupling and a certain pairing has to exist. And that is okay for you to think that. It's okay for all of us to think what we think. We must remain open for the mystery, though. We must remain open to receiving a new way, a new possibility, because we don't know what we don't know. We can't see what we can't see. And so at this time of Beltane, it's an opportunity to allow yourself to be cracked open a little bit and to be checked maybe a little bit, to be shown something new, possibly. That is how we hold reverence to the great I am. That is how we hold reverence to the goddess. That is how we hold reverence to, the Heavenly Father, is understanding that we don't know everything. Translation, we haven't experienced everything. So we trust that there's always more to know and experience and learn. And we trust that we may not always know what's best or what's ideal or why something needs to shift and change, right? And sometimes we need that entrance of a new energy to unlock what is laying dormant inside of us, right? And Beltane celebrates and offers that to us. Beltane, from a women's spirituality perspective, is when the maiden is now available, right, to be impregnated. So she has bled for the first time. And is now available for that. And that point in time where we bleed for the first time as women is really interesting because it allows for our sexuality, it allows for the curiosity of partnership and coupling and sexuality, which is really playful and really innocent and really curious and kind of uncomfortable, right? We don't really know what to do with ourselves, but we've got this huge surge of hormones flowing through our body, right? So coupling, yes, sexual partnership, yes. Which is a romantic love thing, but Beltane also offers us a space to come back to our self-love. Beltane does not always need to be a ceremony of many, and really any ceremony doesn't have to be a ceremony of many. Any ceremony can be just a ceremony of self. However, it's important to identify with this particular Sabbath that the innocence of partnered love and sexuality and curiosity is equally as represented as the curiosity and the innocence and the purity of self-love, self-pleasure, using and cultivating your own sexual energy, your own life force to manifest and call in a new creation, to impregnate yourself, to gestate with the project, and to start something new. The innocence, the newness, the excitement of what could be. And all of this falls in the east direction, which is where we are now. We shifted, the wheel turned from the north direction to the east direction on the spring equinox. So we are at the beginning stages of the spring equinox. The elemental representation of this direction is air. That's why the winds are kicking up everywhere, That's why new things are growing and sprouting and blossoming. The newness, the excitement, you can feel the warmth coming in, to bring light back to everything that was dormant and cold during the winter time. Rebirthing, when we shift from the north to the east, that is part of that threshold of death and rebirth. And we talked about that during the equinox, and we talked about that, quiet death space in the north direction. So here we are in the east, starting our cycle all over again. Don't be surprised if certain relationships, certain behaviors, certain elements of past scenarios are coming back around. You're seeing representations of them, maybe in a new form, maybe in a new container, but a similar thread, a similar teaching. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. And that's how we continue to spiral around in our evolution. That's how we continue to weave our web, right? There is both a maturity and an innocence in this Beltane space. We give reverence to the way that Grandmother Spider weaves all of our threads together. We embody and honor the archetype of spider medicine in our own system, making sure that we pay attention to the ways in which we are weaving our webs through the words that we speak, through the choices we make, through the way we hold and treat another, through the projects we say yes to, the things that we say no to, just how we engage life on life's terms. And that's why I say to you, the availability and the receptivity and the willingness to know that, maybe I don't know everything. I'm just going to receive life on life's terms. I'm going to allow it in and trust that What is being given is something that I actually called to me from my inner being, from my highest self, and that it is the perfect thread work. It is the perfect set of circumstances for me to continue to weave, the story and the tapestry of self. And that's why we talk about that self-love, because we've got to have respect and we've got to have graciousness and reverence for how we do what we do. And it is only through the engaging of partners that the maiden learns, what her body likes and what her body doesn't like. It's only through the engagement of partners and the honoring of self, the listening to self, that the maiden learns what she would like to invest in and what she would not. This is how she learns herself. This is how we learn ourselves. Everything is relationship. So we've got to come together, we've got to pair up. We've got to honor the call, listen to the attractions, sort of allow things in, be pulled toward things. We've got to allow that because that is how we experience self. That is how we know ourself. How we relate to all the things of our life is how we know ourself. There is really no right or wrong in how you respond or move. It's all just information gathering. It's all just information gathering. Affording us these new and interesting opportunities and experiences. Again, it's new, it's playful. We're curious in the beginning, because then with our next Sabbath at the summer solstice, which is the peak, the zenith of light, that's when we start to shift into fire season. We start to maybe feel some activation from these new webs that we are weaving, from these new projects, these new partnerships, these new experiences that we have seeded into our life, into our body, into our heart, into our mind, into our consciousness. So, happy Beltane. Honor your masculine and your feminine. Let there be ceremony. Let there be love. Let there be brilliance. Let there be availability and curiosity. Always, 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 always. All my love.